Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Benjamin Moore, and I am the co-executive director of the Church of the Sacred Synthesis. And this week, we are diving into a topic that is very telling as to the potency of one of our sacraments, 5-MeO-DMT. What am I talking about? Well, recently there was a study that was published in a Journal of Psychopharmacology entitled Speech Markers of Psychological Change Following a Psychedelic 5-MeO-DMT Retreat. And so what did the researchers do? The study followed 29 attendees through a 3-day 5-MeO-DMT retreat. Each participant received one 12 milligram dose of synthetic 5-MeO-DMT and submitted a short voice journals during the 2 weeks before and the 2 weeks after the experience. So what did they find out? Well, throughout the experience, researchers analyzed the words participants used, emotions that they expressed in their speech, whether they spoke about the past, the present, or the future, and the vocal qualities such as pitch, jitter, shimmer, and their just overall approach. Altogether, they analyzed 288 voice journals, more than 4,000 sentences, and approximately 8.4 hours of recordings. Wow, quite a bit of information if you ask me. And so what changed about their language? Well, what they found after the experience, participants used significantly more cognitive and introspective language, including words associated with feeling and reflecting, knowing and realizing, cause and meaning, possibility and uncertainty, and then certainty. So words like because, if, might, hope, really, actually, and totally. At the same time, they use fewer socially oriented words, including references to other people, conversations, meeting, friends, and the pattern persisted in the second week after the session. So the best interpretation here is instead of people having a referential language of the outside world, they became self-referencing. So more connected to the I or the me perspective. And that's very, very potent in the shift of perspective as we're navigating these different and new horizons. And from the describing people, relationships, plans, and the external worldview, they started again to examine their own experience, as in if they had a massive shift in their cognition. And what they say here is they changed their self-related cognitive vocabulary. And so the final paper frames this as a more cautious result, as a shift from external to a external or social focus toward introspection and meaning making, which, as we know, humans are meaning-making machines, yet we have a tendency to use an external meaning makers in our meaning, where we tell a friend or a loved one or whomever a story, and what do they tend to do? They tend to make the meaning for us. So this gives people an opportunity to reframe things and actually make their own meaning through this new perspective. And so other notable findings were that participants became more past focused and less future focus. So future, as you know, too much focus in the future can create anxiety and pressure. And so when we can actually honestly reflect on the past and bring these things into our awareness, we can see the patterns in which we're operating within. And if there's adjustments that are needed, we make those changes and adjustments. And sometimes the patterns are great and they've gotten us to a great place. And so we can kind of keep those in place. And the authors interpreted this as a movement away from anticipation and more towards retrospective processing of the experience. And so with that, their emotional language also changed. So increased realization, admiration, relief, and joy, decreased fear, nervousness, and excitement. And so what you notice here is the decrease, fear, nervousness, and excitement. So all of those three categories are a real indicator of a future-oriented mind, a mind that is anticipating the future. It is stuck in a sense of like what will happen. And this is where fear comes from, right? You're not fearing what's happening in the immediate now. It's what might happen. So just recognizing this shift is very powerful. And it's interesting because apparently it doesn't suggest us a simple, more positive words or positive affirmations. It really suggests a specific transition from an anticipating nervous system into a state of relief where one can actually be in the present now. And researchers also found measurable changes in the participants' voices, particularly increased jitter and shimmer. And they refer these small irregularities in vocal frequency and volume. The authors cautiously propose that this might reflect a temporary emotionally active or psychologically liminal period rather than distress. But the interpretation remains speculative. Like all these experiences, there's more studies needed, as they say. And so what does this study mean? What might this mean? Well, the study provides evidence that a profound 5-MeO-DMT experience can be followed by an observable change in how people organize and communicate their experience. And this really reflects deeply with my personal experience in facilitating 5-MeO experiences for over 1,000 individuals. And oftentimes they come into the experience and they're in a state of sometimes victimhood, blaming, the world as against me. The world has created these variables. My parents, they abandoned me, my partner abused me, all these things. And while those things may be true, what we often find is this is an external validation for our own internal emotions. And as we move through these psychedelic experiences, especially with 5-MeO, what we notice is that the person goes into this self-referencing perspective. And what does that mean? What does that do? Well, it gives the power back to you. And when you are in the driver's seat for your emotions and you're no longer receiving or you're no longer in the emotional flow of someone else's stimulation, you have the power to change it. Yet, and remember, if you're in someone else's emotional roller coaster and you're letting other people control your emotions, you don't have the power anymore. So this is very, very amazing where we can shift that with one single dose of 5-MeO-DMT. And now you have the power back. Now you aren't the victim, you are the victor. You have control. That means you can shift your next experiences, your way you operate your life to create experiences that support you on your journey, whatever that may be. And let's see, I'm just going to go through the notes here. So people were less occupied, as I was saying, with what other people were doing, social changes or exchanges, upcoming events, and anticipation of whatever was happening. And they felt more occupied with their feelings, the sense of understanding, and why something happened, and what the experience actually meant for them. And lastly, how they were interpreting their past. Because as you know, if you feel right now a sense of stress, a sense of depression, a sense of anger, if you take that and then you start to think about your past, chances are you're going to be identifying with things in your past that arouse that emotion. Now, if you are in a state of joy or acceptance or abundance, there's a likelihood that you, when you think about your past, your experiences in your life, you're going to actually think about events that create that same feeling or emotion. So it's an important distinction here, because as we shift from this victim mindset where we think about all these experiences in our life that were done to us, and we shift to the victor mindset, we get to look at this and say, I did these things, I chose this, wow, I have the power now. And so this supports the idea that 5-MeO-DMT may be involved in an active period of self-examination and narrative reconstruction. So completely reconstructing how our narrative truth is emerging from us. That's beautiful. I mean, I don't even know if I have to say any more about that. So the important limitations here, let's make sure that we're completely being transparent. Well, The findings shouldn't be treated as proof, as they say, that 5-MeO-DMT itself caused these changes. Because, as they're saying, the study only had 29 participants, there was no placebo, and we know, if you've ever gone on a psychedelic journey, there's no placebo. This isn't like Tylenol, Advil, or something else. There is no ability to have a placebo or a control group because you know when you're in the experience. There's no question about it. And so what they're saying is the race and the religious affiliation of this group was not as diverse as it could be, and participants participants with extensive differences in prior 5-MeO experience, ranging from 1 to 300 previous uses. So what they're saying here is that some of the participants actually have had 5-MeO-DMT experience, and so the key here is they're still seeing these shifts, because what we know, and I don't know if this is what they're trying to show here, is that a one and done is what this is all about. There is no such thing. Again, let's just reiterate, there's no magic pill. There's no I took 5-MeO-DMT and my life's fixed, my perspectives are fixed, because what happens is life is always unfolding. So we go into a 5-MeO-DMT experience, we reframe, we go into this state of self-reflection, of acceptance, of surrender, and then we get to build our life. Well, guess what? 6 months here, a year later, 2 years later, life is stacked up again. Unexpected events, deaths, suffering, car accident, divorce, whatever it may be, these things are going to continue to compound in your life. And the key is to create a relationship with yourself, with the ability to process and integrate these experiences, but also allowing oneself to work with 5-MeO-DMT as a tool to catalyze these transformations, or allow yourself to shed more rapidly some of these more dense experiences and be in a state of expansion, of joy, of acceptance, and reframe once again back into this self-referential point, because we are human beings and these gifts were given to us by our Creator. They're everywhere and they're here for us to utilize for our own benefit. So let's just be, we'll say, truthful, that there is no magic pill. As a reminder, this study is a great indication that gives us hope that we can utilize these powerful and potent molecules to shift our perspective and give us a shining light at the end of the tunnel while we navigate some of these more treacherous and uncertain waters. And once again, return to the cycle. And the closer and tighter we get to our own works and our own cycle, then the better and more fruitful our experiences. And I will say this I'll say a caveat to all of the things I just shared with you. 5-MeO-DMT is not a replacement for active participation in one's daily regimen or process. It can be a powerful and potent additive or catalyst to put you in a state of connection, of elation, of transmutation, yet it does not replace the time spent meditating, doing breath, doing studies, like creating a philosophy or joining in a philosophy that helps nourish your soul and spirit and gives you a way to expand and connect to something greater than oneself. And so the caveat's always there. These are powerful and amazing entheogens, but they do not replace daily practice. And daily practice is how we continue to move ourselves in the direction that most supports our life and the life of our loved ones, if we align ourselves in that way. So I don't have anything else to share in this regard, and I really appreciate you tagging along with me in my intensity. I felt very excited to share this tonight. And if you found value here and you found this video outside of our school community, I invite you to join us on School. So our school website is school.com. It's spelled SKOOL.com /The Sacred Synthesis. And you can also find us on our website, www.thesacredsynthesis.com. There will be links below, and please come check us out, see what we're all about. If this is something that aligns with you, come on in. If you find like this doesn't align, no harm, no foul. Enjoy your experience elsewhere. And we wish you the best, as always. Oh, one more thing. There is an upcoming ceremony, July 26th, 9:30 to 11:30. This ceremony is our monthly opportunity to connect together in a group experience where Cynthia and I will guide you through a 2-hour unfolding of a few different aspects. So one being Kundalini yoga and breath work, and then a guided light wand meditation where you will be self-administering 5-MeO, utilizing your light wands, guided by our sound prompts and our soundscapes. And you're closing out with some words. And this is a great opportunity for you to join together with your fellow members and connect in a greater way than just with words. So we look forward to seeing you there, and we're very excited for all the unfolding that's coming for us as an organization. So sending you all love and joy and compassion that I can. And take good care of yourselves. Love you, everyone.